Hi, welcome to the I'm So Done With Him Summit. I'm Donna Cornybert, and I would like to introduce one of my first speakers, Gabrielle Stone. Welcome to the summit, Gabrielle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you joining us. I just feel that you're going to have so much information to offer my listeners. Um, yeah, I'm just really excited to interview you. One of the first things I would like to say, so we're doing this summit and it's for women who've gone through divorce or starting the process. And the speakers I'm bringing together over 21 days are going to just offer a wealth of information as to what you should do at the start, during, and after, so that you can enter a new phase of your life. I love you. You're an author, you're an actress, and a dancer as well, I believe. Would you like to just give me a little information about your background and how you've come to be where you are now?
Yeah, so I am born and raised in Los Angeles, and I started out acting and directing, and my life kind of took a turn, and in turn, my career took a turn when I found out that my husband of almost 2 years was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months.
Oh my goodness.
So my life kind of blew up, and as a lot of women can, resonate with,
Mhm.
you don't really know where you're going from there. It's kind of like this whole life that you have planned out and have envisioned is now not.
Mhm.
And the rug gets pulled out from under you. So
Yeah.
for me in particular, I had been pretty unhappy in my marriage for 7 or 8 months. I just didn't understand why. We were going to
Mhm.
therapy. Really, I was really trying to put in the work to get us back to a place of happiness and fix things. We had only been married a year and a half at that point, and I had been not happy. And I think a lot of women in our marriages, the thought of leaving just because you're not happy
Mhm.
isn't enough. And if my ex-husband wouldn't have done something so drastic to make me be like, okay, I'm out, I would
Mhm.
have stayed in that relationship a lot longer trying to make it work. And, we had taken these vows and it's a commitment.
Mhm.
And I really think he and his actions gave me an out and gave me a chance to have this beautiful new beginning and this second chance. So I left my house after the divorce and very quickly met a man a few weeks later, and we fell madly in love with each other and had this like whirlwind romance that was like, meet my family, we're going to have babies together. It all makes sense now why I had to get divorced. It all makes sense. The universe led me to you.
Yeah.
And he invited me on a month-long trip to Italy.
Uh-huh.
48 hours before we were getting on the plane, he told me he needed to go by himself and broke up with me. And
Oh,
I was
goodness.
absolutely devastated. He broke my heart like my ex-husband never could have done. And I know now from hearing from my readers how many women get into experiences where the man after their
Mhm.
husband or now ex-husband is really like the worst heartbreak, because you're just in a different space
Yeah.
emotionally, and it takes it to a different level.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I was sitting on my bed in a pool of tears and was like, well, I can either stay at home heartbroken or I can go travel Europe for a month by myself. So I took a backpack and I did 6 countries over the span of a month, and I wrote Eat, Pray, FML about it.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. I've been listening to it as an audiobook while I've been driving and I've been
I
laughing
love
so
it.
much. Yeah, it's been fantastic. I was like, oh my goodness, that is just so hilarious. And Javier, listening to all the stories with Javier and the heartbreak around with him as well was like, it was huge. Um, what would you say, like, the biggest thing was that you were searching for when you went on your trip? After having, because you were thrown into it, it was so unexpected.
Yeah.
Um, like, through that whole process, what was it that you learned through that?
I think I was searching for two things. The first was self-love, how to love myself. And, it's this mythical thing that people always will preach to you. It's the most important thing. And you can't love yourself, or you can't love someone else until you love yourself first. And
Mhm.
I was standing there going, okay, I'm ready to do that. Can anyone tell me how?
Yeah.
And nobody had like a clear answer of this is how you love yourself. So
Mhm.
that was one thing that I was searching for. The second thing was really to heal my fear of abandonment and fear of being alone.
Mhm.
So I am a big believer in we attract everything into our life, whether that's good things that we're trying to manifest or things that are going to teach us lessons. A lot of times when we go through horrible things like a spouse cheating or a breakup or anything that's negative in our life, we want to lean towards the, oh my God, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
And it's really important to take a step back and point the finger back at yourself and be like, okay, why did I attract this into my life? So I'll give everybody a really clear example. When I was 6 years old, I walked in and found my father dead on the floor from a heart attack. In that moment, I developed a subconscious belief of when I love someone, they die, or when I love someone, they leave, and fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
That belief was then reinforced in me when I was 16. When I was 18. It's been a long day, guys. I'm like mixing up my own ages in my timeline. That belief was reinforced in me when I was 18 and I lost my high school sweetheart in a car accident. And again, it was when I love someone, they die. When I love someone, they leave, fear of abandonment. So looking at my ex-husband, I attracted this relationship into my life. And he abandoned me in probably one of the most heinous and horrible ways possible by stepping out on our marriage. And the universe was like, okay, Gabrielle, are you ready to heal the abandonment thing? Because that's what this is mirroring to you. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go this way. We're cool. And then I attracted the man after, who quite literally abandoned me 48 hours before we were getting on a plane to a trip that he invited me to. So at that moment, it was almost like I had to sit back and laugh because the universe was like, okay, you didn't want to deal with it before. So now you're going to go across the world to figure it out in the biggest way possible by yourself. It was just and so I had been attracting these men into my life that were playing out this fear that I had until I took responsibility to figure it out and wake up and heal it. And once I did that and did the work on myself, I was able to attract different types of situations and relationships in the future.
Yeah, that's huge. And I so understand that. It's like once you realize and you start accepting responsibility for yourself and not playing like a victim, oh my goodness, this has happened to me. And why does this always happen to me? Is looking at how you're attracting that into your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes such a difference, such a difference. So how did you find yourself healing after all of that? What did you do to heal?
Well, I got on a plane and went to Europe. No, I mean, so the trip definitely, there were highs and lows, and I, was writing a lot. I wrote 3/4 of the book on that trip by hand in my journal. So writing was a huge therapy to me because it really made me process everything I was going through and like physically write it out of my body. So that was a huge thing for me. Also, really just removing myself from all of the things that were hurting me. I was now not anywhere near my ex-husband. I was not anywhere near my ex. I was across the world by myself, having to be alone and be with myself and really like find out who I was, because I had never really been alone. I had always, had a roommate or had girlfriends over or been in a relationship, or, even today, it's like, are you ever really not on your phone or not having a conversation with someone or not, just by yourself?
Yeah.
So being alone and really discovering who I was and coming to understand that I actually really loved being by myself, and that there was a really big empowerment for me in being alone and realizing how capable I was. And I think that that's one of the big things that trip really gave me. And this is not saying that like, if you get divorced or you're going through heartbreak, that you have to jump on a plane and go to Europe. Yeah. I don't not recommend it, but you can do this by like taking yourself to the beach for a day trip and just really being by yourself.
Yeah.
Really just getting out of your normal surroundings that you're used to, and spending time with you and seeing what you need and what your healing needs to be. And like, really, where do you go from here? I think the more people can, and I know how difficult this can be in the moment, especially if you are heartbroken. but looking at endings and divorce and any kind of ending as a chance for a beautiful new beginning, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's a chance for you to reinvent yourself and start anew. And although that might be devastating in different ways, and painful in different ways, you can make it really magical by the time you get to the other end. So harnessing that knowing, I think, is really empowering.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I so understand where you're coming from with that. And it's just, rather than seeing it as such a tragedy and your life is over and your marriage has ended with this person, it's like, actually, this is a huge opportunity I would not have had otherwise. And I can reinvent myself, or I can actually be myself, and
Yeah.
start a new chapter. And that's really beautiful,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
empowering, really, really empowering. So how would you, so taking responsibility and recognize that you are attracting what you bring to yourself. How would you say that we have to take responsibility? How did you do that? Like, what were the steps that you took?
I think whenever you can look at your life and you recognize a pattern, that's something to be looked at. So if something is continually happening to you, I have so many of my readers reach out to me and they'll be like, I just keep, attracting the shitty men. I keep attracting people that are not good for me or not, giving me what I need or want in life. And if there's a pattern, that's something to look at, because that's something that you're attracting. It's something that keeps like creating. And that doesn't mean that like you're some terrible person that like deserves any of this. It just means that there is some unhealed shit within you.
Yeah.
And it needs to be looked at if you're going to start attracting some better stuff in the future. So really looking at your life, looking at the patterns, looking at who you haven't been able to forgive is always a pretty good indicator of some work that needs to be done. And look, I am speaking from experience. I know how hard it is to forgive certain people. You don't do it for them. It's not for them. They are not walking around going, oh God, if I could just get her to forgive me, everything would be fine in the world. They don't care. And it's not affecting them. You're not, the hate that you're sending out from your heart isn't doing a damn thing to them. It's only bringing down your vibrations. So if you're wanting to create more money, more love, more anything in your life, you can't be vibrating at that negative level. And it's like, would you rather have the best relationship of your life, a great job, all the things that make you happy?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be pissed off at this person? Like, wouldn't you trade one for the other? Because I would.
Really, it's just like if you don't forgive and you say it's not for them, it's for you, you're holding a poison inside your body that actually physically affects you, right?
Yeah,
so you need
absolutely.
to release that, and then that's when you can actually move on and start to heal properly. And I think a lot of people forget that the forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness and your mindset and self-healing and self-love is like so important, really, really important. You've written a self-love cocktail that you're going to give away to our listeners as a free download. What made you write that? How did that come about?
So as I mentioned before, one of the massive things I was trying to learn on this trip was how to love myself. And I always thought self-love was looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, Gabrielle. But every time I did that, I felt kind of crazy. If you can, more power to you. I love it. But I needed something that made a little bit more tangible sense in my life. And so I write about the self-love cocktail in the epilogue of Eat, Pray, FML, because I didn't find it when I was on my trip. I found bits and pieces of it, but it really came when I came back and had to pull myself out of a depression. And that's where you really, when you're in the pit of depression, that's where you really like have to find answers. And so the self-love cocktail, because of course I have to equate it to some type of fruity cocktail or alcoholic beverage, is really simple. All you do is you sit down and you write out a list of things that you can give your soul that you love. So nothing that you need from another person, things that you're capable of giving yourself that make you happy. So for me, my list was meditating, eating healthy, going to the gym, dancing, creating, writing. And I put that list on my mirror and I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to giving myself at least one or two things off of this list every single day. And at first, you know, it's a stiffer drink, like a vodka martini. And then when you get through a couple weeks and you're getting more comfortable, you start adding in other ingredients and you're giving yourself 3 things or 4 things off of your list every day. And before you know it, you're having this like full fun mixology cocktail and you wake up feeling so much better. And it's because you're loving yourself. And when I realized that loving yourself is as simple as giving your soul the things it loves, it was totally life-changing for me, because now I had a list of like, you want to love yourself, give yourself this stuff. Because when you think about it, if you're in a relationship with a significant other, or you're, you know, a mother-daughter relationship or a friendship or any type of relationship in your life, if you want the other person to experience love, you give them things and do things that make them experience love. So when we want to practice self-love, why would we not do that for ourselves?
Exactly. So true.
So the self-love cocktail download that everybody's going to get is basically a deep dive into explaining that. So it'll teach you exactly how you need to do it and give you some more insight on it. And it's really been a game changer for me to have something tangible that I knew I was going to give to myself. And, you know, sometimes it looks different. Sometimes my self-love cocktail looks like putting on a face mask, leaving my phone in the other room and watching an hour of TV with a glass of wine. And that's totally fine. It's whatever is going to make you feel better, your mental health feel better. That's what you do.
No, that's amazing. And I think like for our listeners as well, either starting the process of divorce and separation or in the middle of it, we often lose sight of loving ourselves, because that goes out of the window, because you're in a state of like fear, shock, trauma, anxiety, and the last thing on your mind is yourself, you know. So that's one of the most, that should be first on your list, is starting to look after yourself and, you know, self-love, and starting to heal yourself. So in order to get that process, you know.
And a lot of times, you know, when women get divorced and they have kids in the picture, I was very fortunate to not have kids with my ex-husband. But, you know, there's a tendency for people to say, okay, but like, I don't have time, or my kids come first, or it's so important to give yourself those things and put yourself first so that you can fill your own cup up, because otherwise the kids are only getting a shelled version of you. Absolutely. You know, like it's got to be, I'm going to give myself things that I need, and I'm going to take care of myself and, you know, be able to show up for everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, that's huge. I have children, and I so get that. Like initially when I was going through this process, my first instincts were, okay, I need to protect my kids, and I need to give everything to my kids, and I will come last because they're the most important thing at the moment, and I need to look after them. And it's so like, you need to look after yourself first so that you can give to your kids, you know, and be there for them. And so that's huge. So you've met a new love, and you're on the other side. And so how did you, you know, find yourself, you know, marrying again?
Well, I'm not married. I don't know if we will ever get married. We talk about it. We've both been married in the past. He has a daughter from his previous marriage. We own a house together. We have 3 dogs. It's like we're married. We're just not on paper. And I don't know. I mean, I'll never say never, but it doesn't feel necessary right now. I can tell you, if I do ever get married again, it won't be with like a big fancy wedding like I had the first time. Like, I'd rather spend the money on, you know, buying a property or going on a trip. But people will read in the second book, The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl, which is a direct sequel to Eat, Pray, FML, how I met my current partner, the crazy roller coaster ride it took for us to find that happiness. And it'll really give people a good insight as to some of the walls and things we need to navigate around after divorce and after heartbreak, to really be open to the new people that come into your life and how to have a successful, happy relationship.
So did you find that you put walls up prior to meeting the partner that you're with now? After your experience with Javier?
Yeah, I didn't put walls up after my divorce, which is so ironic because that's probably when I should have. but thank God I didn't, because then I wouldn't have met Javier, wouldn't have fallen in love, gotten my heart broken, wrote the book, and been here talking with you.
Yeah.
But I think after the second blow, I did put some walls up, but I also needed to redefine what my definition of love was.
Yeah.
My definition of love had become toxic, and I was not aware of that. And so I was pushing away safe, healthy, good love because it didn't fit the criteria that I had come to know with love. So that was a huge lesson for me that I learned in the second book.
Oh, wow. That's huge. Like, how can my listeners find you? So where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Gabrielle Stone, and my TikTok is at Gabrielle_Stone. You can get both of the books exclusively on Amazon. The first one is Eat, Pray, #FML. The second one is The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl. They're in hardcover, paperback, audiobook, which I narrate both of, and ebook. You can also get signed copies on my website, which is eatprayfml.com. And I have all the things are on there. You can find the podcast, FML Talk. You can find all of our merch that we have. I have the self-love healing journal is on there. So that's really the one-stop shop to go to.
Wonderful. And what was it that made you start your podcast as well? Because you've got so many fantastic speakers on there. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually kind of was bullied into doing it.
Oh, really?
I mean, I say that lovingly. But a lot of my listeners readers during the pandemic wanted me to come out with something. And it's just like, everybody has a podcast. What am I going to talk about? And one of my girlfriends was like, look, just do it. I'll produce it. Yeah. And I thought maybe 1,000 of my readers or so would come over and listen. And it's just become so much more than I ever thought it would be. And we've had some incredible guests on there. And people find the podcast that haven't even read the books. You know, we talk a lot about healing, you know, recovering from heartbreak, trauma, divorce, toxic love. Like, we kind of cover everything in the relationship umbrella, but then have branched off into a lot of other really great topics now. So it's just become this way to help like my community have a safe but fun place to heal.
That's wonderful. And what would you say, one piece of advice that you'd give listeners if they were prior to going into a marriage, like what you know now about yourself? What would you tell your Gabrielle before going into marriage as to?
I would say be very, very clear on your boundaries and your worth, and demand that is met, and never accept anything less than that.
Wonderful. That's so lovely. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, for anyone that's going through divorce or heartbreak or any type of grief or trauma that can't see that light at the end of the tunnel, I am a walking example and a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So in the darkest times, hold on to that, because once you get to that other end and see that light, I promise you it is really freaking magical. So keep going.
That's wonderful. And you're in such an amazing place now in your life. It's really beautiful to see that.
I would do it 10 times over to end up where I'm at now.
Amazing. And are you still acting, or are you focused
I mean, the pandemic definitely was a weird time for actors. I was very blessed that I had kind of like pivoted into author podcast land during that time. Yeah. But I'm definitely still open to it as it comes. I'm very focused on directing. I'm doing a feature film later this year because I love being behind the camera. But yeah, I love that I now have a bunch of different avenues to express my creativity in.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I was when I was reading up about you as well and doing some research, and I was so intrigued to find that your mother was in E.T. I mean, that was my all-time favorite movie when I was a kid growing up.
I love that. Yeah, my mom has been in the business for over 45 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so beautiful. But thank you so much for joining us today, Gabrielle. I really appreciate it. And you've offered a wealth of information to the listeners that will be so valuable. I'm really grateful for that, because that's huge. Just going through that process alone can be so lonely at times. And if we're armed with these tools and skills that will help take us through it, that's huge. And I'm really grateful for that from you. So
Absolutely. Thank you for including me. I really appreciate being here and being
uh,
able to help some of the other women on their journeys.
thank you so much. So we'll be providing a link for your free download, and then listeners will be able to link directly to you to your website as well. So that's fantastic. So thank you
Amazing.
so
Well, I
much.
hope to see some of you there. Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you to the listeners for joining the summit, and have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day, Gabrielle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You take care. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.